This here is the 2024 IdeaPad 5 Pro 16-inch from Lenovo. This one here is the AMD model. There's a few different offerings on this laptop. This one here does have the Ryzen 5, so it's not the highest CPU. It does have an RTX 3050, so not the most powerful RTX graphics. It does have an OLED screen, but it's not the finest resolution screen. But the interesting thing about this laptop is not that, it's not the absolute top of the line for everything. It's that it is very, very affordable, and it has all of these things included. It has RTX graphics 3050, capable of actually doing really good performance in games because of the higher wattage. That Ryzen 5 processor is going to be more than capable of day-to-day demanding tasks like video editing. You get really good battery life out of the laptop. It's an all-metal chassis, nice and thin, awesome build quality, all metal, top, bottom, inside the keyboard. Comes with a 100% DCI-P OLED screen in this laptop too. Again, not the finest resolution. It's going to be 1280p. Not going to be, 1600p or 4K monitor. However, you're getting an OLED screen in a laptop that costs so little. So that's enough intro. Let's jump into the review and see why I would recommend this laptop. Despite the fact that it is very budget, I think it is very compelling for a lot of different buyers out there. You can see there it's a nice kind of light silvery color. Kind of similar to a MacBook, to be honest. See that there? Nice and sleek all around. Bottom's all metal. It has some similarities to a ThinkBook, the premium ThinkBooks, all metal. Has some similarities to the Yoga Pro 9i, so they're kind of adopting some similar design there. Looks quite nice, all metal all the way around. Nice and simplistic there. That badge there typically denotes that it's going to be an IdeaPad. So 1,945 grams, that's about 4.4 pounds or so. 2475, not too bad, all things considered. Again, it does have dedicated graphics inside. You can, of course, charge it with USB-C as well. You don't have to use the proprietary charger, so if you're traveling. Now, this here is the 14-inch one, right? I've been using this. I actually ordered this one from China, so it's actually the Chau, but it's literally the IdeaPad 5 Pro. It's the same laptop. It's just that this is the Chinese model. This one here does not have a dedicated graphics in it. It's also not super light. It's all metal, but it's also not heavy either. You can see there the form factor difference. So IdeaPad 5 Pro 14-inch versus IdeaPad 5 Pro 16-inch. And you can just see the difference there. More than an inch on the right, obviously. A fair bit larger. So definitely a much larger laptop. This kind of reminds me of my video where I did the MacBook Pro 14-inch versus the MacBook Pro 16-inch, like the same thing. And yeah, you get your down-firing speakers there. In theory, these should sound really good. We'll see though. You get that weird style connector. I'm gonna have to get my screwdriver for that, the star style. Nice big intake there. Nice. And for ports now, let's see what we got. On the left side here, we got our proprietary power in, HDMI out, 2 USB-C. Not sure which one is Thunderbolt, but one of them is at least going to be Thunderbolt there. USB 4 there. I'm not sure which one is which. We'll have to put it on the screen. And then on the right side there, you get a full-size SD card, microphone, headphone combo jack, and two more, and then 2 USB-A. So 2 USB-A, 2 USB-C, SD card, headphones, and also HDMI. So you get a lot of ports. It's not a gaming laptop or anything like that, which would potentially have more, but definitely has a fair number of ports, all things considered. Okay, so it looks like it has a flush body here. There's no real area to grab with this here, just like the IdeaPad 5 Pro 14. So what I tend to do is I give it a little bit of torque here, which sometimes works. You can also go right from here. It just depends if you can get in there. Yeah, see there's actually, like that separates there. There's actually some clips in there. So you can actually go basically from here rather than trying to go through the metal. Right? Just go like that. It's metal, right? So that's that there. Let's look at the bottom. So the bottom is all metal. You get some support there. That was that little fit that we felt clipping in there. And then you get a thermal pad because there's an NVMe there, obviously. Vent in, vent out. Not too bad. And here is a look inside the laptop. It looks quite good for a little IdeaPad. We get a decent sized battery. I believe it's 84 watt hours there. It's a big battery, especially because this is AMD. You'll get really good battery life. This one here also has an 80 watt hour battery. So despite the fact that it's small, it has a big battery. Nice big speakers there. This has great audio. I'm expecting this will also have great audio. Realistically, should be very good actually, to be honest. Your dual heat pipe, nice thick heat pipes here. This only has a 3050. I think you can get a 4050. Neither of them run hot, to be honest, those chips. And the CPU is an 8845HS, which also doesn't run hot. So two really thick copper heat pipes there with lots of VRM coverage there. This thing should cool really well, to be honest. And then you have two fans, nice, really nice dense fins there, relatively large fan, and they're not really shallow or anything like that. So this thing should actually cool extremely well. This thing runs super cool over here. This one should also run super cool too. And then you have a 2242 size slot here, right? That's, I bent that. So there's a 2242 or 2280. So you get one NVMe slot here, and then you get a second NVMe slot here. This is a 2242 size, and then you get 2280. So you can put in two NVMe's. Unfortunately, the way that it's set up here, you can only have one 2280, one 2242. Wi-Fi here, which is upgradable. RAM, you'll notice, is not upgradable here. Unfortunately, in Canada and US, we only have 16 gigabytes soldered to the motherboard on this system here. That's a bit of a limitation for me. One advantage is it does have dedicated graphics, so the iGPU isn't necessarily going to steal not going to necessarily steal VRAM if you're doing something like gaming. So that's one advantage, but unfortunately it is soldered. In China, you can get this with 32 gigabytes. I saw it on AliExpress when I was buying this. Okay, let's take off this cooling. I took out the battery. I just wanted to take it right out. You don't have to take it out. You can just disconnect it, but it was a little tight. So I took out one screw, two screws, and I just took it out. It's no big deal. So the fans, I don't think are going to have to come off. In theory, they're not attached to this here. So let's try to take this off without the fans first. Now I think I don't have to take off the fans. We'll see. Yep, so the fans don't have to come off, which is good. It just blows right through. So what do we got here? Oh, it is using PTM. Interesting. Very good. Very good, Lenovo. You can see here that this is a dry, like fairly dry material, right? Versus a thermal paste that would be basically a liquid, right? You can see that it's almost like a thermal pad, right? You can see that there. That's PTM 7950 or some type of PTM. That's a phase change material. So what it is you put it on, it's basically a liquid. It comes in a sheet. Well, you can get it as a liquid, but I get it in a sheet. Like that, almost like a thermal pad. When you put it on, what it will do is you do some heat cycles, cool, heat cycles, cool, heat cycles, cool. And then what happens is it will turn into this dry, almost dry kind of material. It's not fully dry, but it's definitely a solid type material. Like you can see it cracks off there. And it offers significantly better cooling than thermal paste. Like actually significant. I've shown it in tons of videos. I've thrown it on to small devices, and there's other people who have done it too, but I'm a big advocate for PTM. I do it on any primary device that I use. Now we will open this up here. Look at that reflectivity. Not actually too bad. This is an OLED screen. This is the year of the OLED. I said that in some video. You can see here the design language. You get a same light metal on the inside here, metal top, no plastic there. And then you get your keyboard here. It's a nice glossy material. You can see that they're very similar. Design language inside, basically the same, just stretched, right? So very, very, very similar laptops. I mean, they are in the same family. Basically 16 versus 14. Same idea you get with MacBook Pro. You can get this with a dedicated graphics though, interestingly. Vent up there. I'm not sure if there's speakers in. I'm not sure because the downfire in there. You get your nice smooth trackpad there. Camera up here with a physical kill switch up there. It doesn't have the BIOS style switch over there. That's nice. Power on over there. Nice clean package here. Numpad for people who need numpads. I actually do like a numpad. That's one of the reasons I might switch to the 16. More screen real estate's nice, but because I do video editing, but I also have like a portable OLED screen I'll be having a video on. You'll see that soon. But it is nice for me to also have a numpad here for when I'm doing data entry and that. So trackpads are basically the same between these here. Yeah, they're basically the same. Clicks here. Very, very nice trackpads. All around, really, really nice trackpads. Let's have a look at the software that actually comes on the laptop here. And now we'll have a look at the software that comes on the laptop. So these are just, generic Windows stuff. Some of them you can leave. There's McAfee, which is no good, so that can come off. And yeah, remove that. And then just more Windows stuff, NVIDIA stuff. Yeah, it's very clean. Just the McAfee is really the only crap that's on it. That's basically it. It does come with Lenovo Vantage. You're typically going to want to keep Lenovo Vantage here. We open this up here. You have different modes here, so you can go into adaptive, which is kind of like, it'll just decide what it wants to do. You can go into battery saver, low, or you can go into performance mode, just kind of let it rip. I think you can probably go function Q for those too. Yep. So balance mode, battery saver, performance mode. It's interesting that it actually works differently than this here. It says that it's function key, doesn't change it, but that's how I do it. So, for just kind of using the laptop silently, you can actually just put it on silent. You'll be good to go. We'll see if it can game on that. A lot of times you can actually game on these lower wattage systems on silent mode, no problems. Balance mode, battery saver. I mean, it's kind of saves your battery, obviously, there. Balance mode, you should be able to game and do everything on balance mode. It'll just keep the fan slightly lower. In theory, you'll be able to get really good performance on that. We'll do that in the benchmark section, potentially game on it too. Battery saver, we'll obviously say battery. You might be able to game on it. We'll test that as well. NVIDIA 4000 can do that. The 3050 might be able to. We'll have to see. And then finally you have performance mode, just kind of like let it rip or whatever. You can also do conservation on the battery, so it'll only charge up to 75 or 80% rather than fully charged. So if you leave it plugged in all the time, that's a good idea. It'll just help prevent battery wear. Your call if you want to do that or not. It has GPU overclocking. Interesting. Let's turn that on, obviously. That's fine. It says it's in beta, which is weird. So we'll turn on overclocking on the 3050. We actually get 150 megahertz on the GPU clocks and 400 megahertz on the video. Wow. That's actually a lot. So we'll just see if that does any advantages when we do gaming. That won't matter if you're worried about battery life or anything like that, because this will switch to This will switch to the AMD graphics when you are not doing demanding tasks, and so as a result, these will basically sleep. It won't drain your battery anymore or anything like that. Okay, and now we're gonna do the audio test, which I expect will be quite good on this laptop, based on the 14-inch one there, and it looked like they have similar speakers. So we'll start at about 70. Just mind your headphones, obviously. It's going to be pretty loud. Turn it up to full. Yeah, so it certainly gets very loud. It's very clear. There's a decent amount of low-end bass. Very good mids, very good highs. Overall, I would say it's much better than your typical business, significantly better than your typical business laptop. It's also better than your typical gaming laptop, to be honest. The average gaming laptop has like acceptable speakers. The average business laptop has anywhere between garbage and acceptable speakers. It wouldn't compete with something like the Lenovo Legion 7i or the 7i Pro or the ThinkPad 16P or the Yoga 9i. Some of the Asus larger laptops like the G16 have very, very nice speakers. It's not on that level, but it is still very good. Now there are some considerable differences here between the two laptops. This one is an 1800p screen. This one's just a 1280p screen. So it's a little bit above 1080p, a little bit above 1200p, just ever so slightly. On a 1600p screen, on a 16-inch screen, I'd like to see a higher resolution option, to be honest. I will be totally frank. I'd like to see a higher option here. 1800p would be fine. 1600p would be fine. Just give us a 1600p option. This is going to be better on battery life. Like it's going to be probably very good on battery life. And I don't think a lot of people would care at this price range because it is still a beautiful OLED, but I would like to see a higher resolution option just for the people who want that. This one here, 120 hertz refresh rate or 60. Looks like, I was doing a battery test. So that's that. 120 hertz refresh rate on both. So they're both very beautiful OLED screens. 120 hertz refresh rate. These are screens that you're going to want to use if you're a creator type person, graphic designer. So you can see here that there is obviously really nice blacks on this laptop, right? These are OLEDs, right? So if I bring that down, they're going to look absolutely gorgeous. I'll turn the light back on now. They're not anti-reflective or anything like that, so you will get reflections, but they're actually not horrible. I'd say they're like okay for reflections. They are definitely a glossy OLED though, but the blacks are absolute, right? They're OLED, so you have basically infinite contrast ratio on both of them there. Very, very vibrant on both of them. I would prefer if this laptop here had a higher resolution, right? I would prefer it if it had 1600p. I will be honest. This will improve battery life being at that 1280p. For sure, you'll get better battery life. I would just prefer finer resolution. In most cases, you're probably not going to notice. When you get into text in that, you can see it a little bit. And the laptop's further away, you probably can't tell, to be honest. But if you bring it really close to you, like really, really, really close to you, you can kind of tell. I think most people, I don't know, a lot of people can't really tell the difference between 1600p and 1200p at a screen of this size at least. It's interesting to me. You can often see one thing though, because often what happens is when you get a 1200p or 1600p, when you get a 1200p or 1080p screen, they're dimmer. They'll be like 300 nits, maybe sometimes even lower. They'll also have a really crappy crushed color space. So they're just bad screens in general. It's not just that they're fine, like lower resolution. They're also just ugly screens. This here does have that slightly lower resolution. However, it's also a gorgeous OLED screen, very bright, very vibrant, and it also has a good color space. So yes, it is lower resolution, but it's still a gorgeous screen. So I would prefer if it was 1600p. It's such a nice screen though. I don't think most people are going to care. It's almost because the screen is so nice and so vibrant and the color space is so good, and you get that OLED black, it almost cuts through the fact that it's not as fine resolution. Like it gives a 3D effect to it. So beautiful screen. Okay, so we're going to do some Cinebench here, not for performance. We're just going to actually do it to check noise. We have 3 different modes. We have performance mode, balanced mode, and that silent mode there. So we'll just get an idea of how it actually sounds, and we'll check some temperatures as well. The actual scores we'll have in the benchmark section, but let's go here and we'll start with that. This is in performance mode to start. About 52 or so. It's not silent or anything, but it's certainly not super loud for going at this type of pace. And the other thing is, it's actually the actual sound of the fan, the acoustics of the fan is not annoying. It's just a kind of low tone. There's not a lot of high-pitched whine, and it just has kind of a nice little whirring sound, just air moving sound. And you can see how much quieter balanced it is. We'll go down to silent actually, because normally these AMD CPUs are actually very efficient. So silent is actually a viable mode. Fans are dropping down. So as it is right now, where I'm sitting, there's just like some general ambient noise. The fans are about equivalent or lower. The mic might pick them up, but I can't really hear the fans at all. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna have a look at some benchmarks here now. You can see here that the performance is pretty good on this CPU here. We're getting around 12 or 13,000 depending on the run here. And this is just the Ryzen 5, so that's actually pretty good. And then you can see here that when we throw it into silent mode, we're still getting pretty good performance, 8,700 or so. So you're gonna be able to get real work done on silent mode. Wi-Fi here, super fast, 670 or so. That's as fast as my Wi-Fi goes. SSD here is pretty good. Just, not going to be 7,000 megabytes a second like a 980 Pro, but still very respectable here. Then you can see here that the battery life is outstanding on this laptop. You can see we're at 88% here, and we're burning at about 10 or 11 watts or so. So we're going to end up with about 6 to 10 hours of idle here on 100% brightness, which is quite good, probably closer to 8 or 10, I would say. 1080p YouTube, basically 85 or 87% here charge. And you can see that once again, we're still going to get probably around 7 or 8, if not 9 hours if the battery is fully charged and we're watching 1080p YouTube. So very, very good battery life on this laptop. Okay, here's a look at the camera. It's okay. I don't have the best lighting. Like I have a really aggressive light overhead, not much coming in the front, and it's dark behind me. But it's not great. Actually, it's okay, I would say at best. It's certainly not a fantastic camera. However, again, I've been playing with some really high-end devices. I've been playing with some really high-end devices recently that are going to be like fantastic cameras. I think this will be totally fine. You're not going to have any issues with the camera. You're going to load it up, you're going to use it, you're going to be fine with it. But it's certainly no like groundbreaking or anything like that. Okay, so now we'll do some game testing. We can see up here that GPU, that 3050 is actually pulling a lot of watts for a 3050 in such a thin machine there. I mean, it's a 6 gigabyte refresh, and this is a pretty thin Ultrabook style laptop, and it's pulling 85 watts. So I'm actually expecting very good performance out of that 3050, despite the fact that it's just the 3050. I wonder if we can just throw on the light as DLSS. You're not going to notice that it's on at 1200p. Yeah, quality DLSS. You can see there our performance is way up now, 70 or so, way up actually. So yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed with this right off the bat. I was expecting, it's a 3050 in a fairly thin laptop, and I was expecting it to do okay, to be honest. I was thinking, 35 FPS. We're going to throw in some scaling, maybe 40, and we'll be fine. But that's actually pretty good for this game here. Okay, let's try Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, I didn't point this out in the previous part when I was doing Baldur's Gate, but this screen looks incredible. The nice thing is, I mean, it's 1080p. It's a little bit larger, so it's not the finest resolution. However, the screen is gorgeous. And when you're playing games, I mean, it's still good. This is kind of the resolution you'd want to play at with this type of GPU anyways. And it looks really good. So let's actually come in here and we'll just go, let's see where we're starting. We'll go high. Yeah, we can try high. We might do a little DLSS, but so high. Yeah, it looks really good on this screen. So, I mean, it's obviously a laptop designed a little bit more for professionals and creative types, but, with that 3050, 6 gigabyte, especially pulling in 90 watts, it's, we're going to get good performance here, and it just looks really nice on this screen. It's funny because, this laptop cost me so little. Nowadays, there's this push towards gaming laptops, super thin gaming laptops with OLEDs, and they cost 3 times as much. And yeah, they perform a little better, but not that much better, realistically, right? This thing costs a fraction of what that is, like a G16. The price difference between them would be about 3 times, 2.5 to 3 times. And yeah, like look at how beautiful that OLED looks there. Fantastic. So you can get an OLED gaming experience on a thin Ultrabook 16-inch laptop without spending 3,000 Canadian dollars. Right? You can spend 1,000 Canadian dollars. And yeah, you lose a little bit of performance going from a 4060 down to a 3050, but honestly, a little bit of DLSS here, and look what we're getting, above 60. Gorgeous screen. If they tossed in a 4050 or 4060, it would be awesome. To be honest, this laptop could certainly do well with a 4060 if the 3050 is doing that well. So I don't know, maybe next year Lenovo, I mean, they probably want to segment their stack a little bit, but I can picture this laptop with the same CPU and a 4060, running at incredible performance. Or even a 4050, to be honest. But this is running very well here. So, I mean, you want to get AAA brand new games. This game came out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. Brand new AAA titles. You're going to have a good time with them, basically. And it's actually relatively quiet. It's much quieter than a gaming laptop. I can hear the fans, but it's running relatively quiet. Let's just do one thing. I just want to throw it on balanced. I want to see what kind of watts it'll pull. The performance will drop, obviously, but yeah, that 3050 now drops down to 56 watts. I mean, we didn't lose that much performance. We lost about 10 FPS, right? It's going to be a really good experience. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the gaming performance on this. Okay, so I suppose that's the video. You'll notice potentially the date is significantly later than when I started this review. I've actually been using this laptop on and off for several weeks, actually. Not as a daily driver, but I just open it up and I mess around with it. I'm actually quite impressed with it. For the price, it's actually a steal. Like you're looking at around like 1,000 to 1,200 Canadian dollars. That's well below $1,000 American. And you're getting a really nice machine. It's an all metal design, metal lid, metal keyboard deck, metal bottom. The actual keyboard is really nice. Trackpad's really nice. Screen is outstanding. I do wish that it had also higher resolution screen. Just depends on the person. However, despite the fact that it's just above 1200p, it's still a really nice screen. I think that the fact that it's so vibrant and it's an OLED, it really does actually almost cut through the fact that it's not as high resolution. I'm not sure how to describe it. Whereas on an IPS, you can really tell when it's a lower resolution. Maybe it's something to do with the OLED technology. I'm not exactly sure, but it's not as noticeable. The only negative I see is it's 16 gigabytes of RAM. If you're using it for things like gaming and that, it's not going to matter because you get that. You're not going to be pulling from the dedicated RAM anyways. You're going to be having dedicated RAM on the GPU itself, so that's fine. I think for the average person, it's going to be fine. For me, potentially, I might need a little bit more RAM for things like video editing. So that's the only consideration. If this laptop was offered with 32 gigabytes, I think it would actually be extremely compelling as a very high-end laptop. It would actually be rivaling like some of the high-end yoga laptops, which cost a lot more. So it'd be nice that Lenovo put 16 and 32 on this. The 32 gigabytes would be, I'd probably daily drive this for quite a while if it had 32. It's just a little low for me for what I do. But I think for most people, you're probably going to be fine for the fact that it's not a super expensive laptop. There's still companies out there selling OLED thin laptops for like $3,000 Canadian with 16 gigabytes of RAM. So it's compared to that, it's shockingly good. So that's the review of the laptop. I think it's outstanding. Great screen, great performance, great audio, great keyboard. Everything's really, really nice. And I can say all these things confidently because it's not super expensive. If this was a $4,000 laptop, I'd be like, well, why doesn't it have a 4060? And, why doesn't it have a 1600p screen? But you're getting all this nicety in a very affordable laptop. If we look at this laptop for what it is, how available it is, and the price of it, I think it's actually outstanding.